Welcome to episode 4 of Willing Warriors. We've named this episode Joy Found in Suffering. We had several experiences of hard providences, weeping, but much rejoicing. And I'll let Kevin.
Yeah, we want to share with you some of those hard times. By the way, we have subtitled this the Kleenex edition. So if you don't have a box of Kleenex, you might want to get one.
I've already used one.
Yeah, my wife might indulge herself there too. Like we do with every episode, we wanted to start this out providing some biblical context. So I'm going to be reading from Romans chapter 12, verses 12 through 15. So Paul, to this young church in Rome, listen to what he says. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing steadfastly in prayer, distributing to the needs of the saints, given to hospitality, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. So he's setting the context for how this young church should live. They should be given to much hospitality. Their lives should be so intertwined that they know each other's joys, they know each other's struggles. This church, where God has called them to, should live in the tighter bonds than a family. And they will live this way for eternity. So this is God not only called the Romans to live in this tight-knit way, in covenant with their Lord and also in covenant with one another, he's also called us to live this way. So the story we want to relay to you is how beneficial this is to when we were weeping, how others wept with us. So I'm going to let my wife set the context of our time.
So August of 2004 was a flurry of activity for our family. At the time, we had 8 children, and our oldest was age 17, or actually 16, about to turn 17, on down to our youngest at age 3. The oldest, within a period of 2 weeks, I had been pregnant, and I had suffered a miscarriage at about week 12 or 13 into the pregnancy. And after the miscarriage, took our oldest son out to college across the country, out to Idaho, and returned. But during that summer, I had noticed our 3-year-old just displaying some unusual physical, symptoms. I didn't know what was causing them. I didn't know it might be in her ear, different things. She'd sort of bump into walls. And like 2 or 3 times, she just mentioned having a really, really strong headache. You could see it in her eyes, the pain. And I just looked at Kevin and I said, out of all the children, I've never seen a child that's had such intense pain. But then she would take a nap, go to sleep, and wake up an hour or two later and be just as fine and ready to run as ever. So I was a little, just a little perplexed, but I decided I thought it worthy of taking to the doctor.
So after, if you caught it, right, a miscarriage, a week later, my wife's flying out to Idaho with our oldest son to set him up at college. Then we're back. And that week after she's back, we're going to see our pediatrician, a faithful man doing a great job. And his counsel was, let's rule out the big stuff. And it could be ear, it could be she needed glasses, but we're going to rule out the big stuff. And he said, we're going for a CAT scan of her brain. Oh, CAT scan of her brain. So we have an appointment with the radiologist. We go there Monday afternoon, and surprise, surprise, the radiologist shows us the pictures, shows us the radar. And she had in her brain something akin to a tumor about the size of a golf ball. Gets the pediatrician on the phone, and here comes the stomach punch. The pediatrician says, your daughter has a tumor. It could be cancerous. Go home, pack your bags, and drive immediately to the hospital. So not something we were prepared for, but yes, indeed, suffering and weeping. And then I'll let my wife pick up the events that occurred there shortly after.
So obviously, we had never been through anything like this before. And I don't think that one as a parent ever expects to hear news of, a major issue like this, and I don't know that anything prepares you for something like this, but God is gracious. And after hearing that news that Mercy did have a tumor, but the CAT scan didn't show, if it had gone down her spine, it was probably cancer. At this point on the way home to tell the rest of our family, we weren't privy to that information yet. The scan, we had to do a more intense, something more visible with an MRI. But at any rate, so we arrived home. On the way home, we called our parents, who both lived in different states at the time, and told them what was going on. And they said that they would try to clear their schedules and be able to come down and help in any way they could. And then also the next call was to our pastor and our friends. And we had to tell our other children there to what they could understand. And there were so many questions we didn't have answers to at that point either. So we were in the process of packing a bag. The doctor, our pediatrician, said to pack a bag for 2 weeks because it could very well take that long for till she could be released from the hospital from whatever was done from that point. So with much tears, and our pastor did come to our house. We sang a psalm, we sang a hymn. He prayed with us. There were lots of hugs. We cried. And then after packing our bags, we also had friends that showed up because at this point, our parents, we didn't have any family in the area. They came over and took care of the children so that Kevin and I could go with Mercy. And we drove over to Cosair's Children's Hospital, 2 hours away in Louisville. And we were told we would meet with the doctor with an MRI, go through the emergency room. They would check us in and MRI the next day.
Yeah, so let me pick up there. So we did arrive at the hospital, not knowing what to expect, a children's hospital, and checked in through the emergency room, got ourselves situated. We were able to stay and sleep there with her in the in the hospital. And they checked her every few hours, came in and flashed a light in her eye. It was challenging, but that's what happened. The next morning, we had a MRI. It was a more detailed scan. The doctor did come and give us news. This was good news, right? That the tumor had not gone down the spinal cord and that surgery would be needed as soon as possible. So Wednesday was a waiting day, and then I'll let my wife pick up on Thursday, which was the day of surgery.
Well, Thursday, we awoke early, and they wanted to start the surgery as early as they could. We also woke up to thunder and lightning and massive torrential downpouring rains. And there were streets that were being flooded. And yet our friends back from home drove the 2 hours to the hospital so that they could be with us for prayer and encourage us, just so that we wouldn't be sitting there alone. And anyway, so the surgery lasted. The doctor would call every now and then to give us an update. Everything was going smoothly. It was a 10-hour surgery. And from there, she went into recovery before heading into ICU. But just to have those friends there with us was just such a blessing not to be sitting there alone. Mercy woke up in ICU.
So let me take over from there. So she woke up in a small little package. Woke up in ICU, all plugged in to all these different devices. The doctor did make his rounds that evening. He did come and say before he could do the full biopsy, he was confident that the tumor was indeed benign, and that was good news. He expected a full recovery. He did give us the news that because of how he had to scrape the tumor out, that our daughter might not be able to talk immediately and might struggle to walk for a time. So we weren't sure what to expect, but the next few days, indeed, she could talk, she could walk. And a week after that fateful diagnosis, she was released. It was like a whirlwind. So looking back, there was many things to learn in this house of mourning. So I'll let my wife share with you some of the wisdom we gained in the hospital experience.
Well, in a hospital, especially a children's hospital, there are a lot of things to see that people don't generally go there when they're well. So we saw parents that had children that were undergoing cancer treatments. And every time we'd hear a helicopter come in, we just sort of got quiet. And even though we didn't know what was going on, we would just pray for those people because we knew they weren't there for a joyful reason. So there was one little boy, a 3-year-old boy, that had been bitten by a copperhead snake, and they thought they might have to remove the arm, but in God's goodness, they were able to open the vein and take out the venom, and they were able to save his arm, and he did heal and recover from that. But there were so many different stories, and they just come up because you look at one another and why are you here? And we did have opportunity to give praise to God and just to share both with the doctors, nurses, and other people, what experiences we were going through. Hopefully it was an encouragement to them. We were thankful for the many multitude of nurses and doctors that were so knowledgeable, that helped us each step of the way. They always told us if they were going to do something before they did it, what they were going to do and why they were going to do that. We are thankful for the many friends that watched our children, our parents. My husband's parents came down with us at the hospital. They took care of us, and we so appreciated that. They would bring us hot meals and give us an opportunity to go get some fresh air if we needed. And my mom was able to come down and stay with the children until we were able to get back home. Our church family brought us many meals. They just loved on us, and we were so thankful.
So let me pick up here. So here we are, this intense trial. And so speaking for myself, right, I learned how to cry. So not to whine, but to learn how to be a broken man. So you see your young daughter hooked up to all these machines, and what could you want? You say, well, why, Lord? Why her? Why not me? But God was indeed gracious during these times. He was showing us his love. He was purging the dross. He was teaching us how to cry out to him. So the prayers were intense arrows shooting directly heavenward. And God heard those prayers. And now as we look back, we can see how he worked, how he melded us together, how there were those weeping with us. And then as she recovered, there were those rejoicing with us. I'm going to let my wife fast forward to today and tell you a little bit about our daughter.
So this daughter, you may have caught earlier, was named Mercy. And at the time when she was named, we had no idea that this was before us, that this would be part of our testimony, part of her life. But fast forward 18 years now, and she is healthy. She's did not have trouble walking or talking or vision problems that the doctor forewarned us might be an issue. So along with being thankful that she was cancer-free, that she also didn't have any of those major issues as a result of the surgery. So she's a senior in college today. She's beautiful, vibrant. She loves theater and art, music. And to look at her, you would never know that there was a little scar tucked under her hairline with such a testimony of God's goodness and faithfulness.
So let me summarize where we started. So what we said is that to this young church in Rome, Paul said that they should rejoice together. They should weep together. They should offer much hospitality. And so here we are. So we have this persona that men, or many men, should be 10 feet tall and bulletproof, thanks to John Wayne. But that wouldn't be what God would call us to be. Strong, sure, but let's learn how to cry. Let's learn that we need each other. Let's learn that we are to be bonded together. So think about the requirements for those who are called to be leaders in the church. They're to be given to much hospitality. They're to open their house, obviously with their lovely wives, and to invite others in. And as you invite others into your house, you invite them into your life. So if you're in a church where it's simply a place you get together for an hour a week, worship, you exchange niceties in the hallway, desire more. Desire more. Desire a place where your lives are melded together, where where you see these people as family, where you're sharing each other's burdens and you're sharing each other's joys. This is the life that God has called us to live. We'll live this way now, and these bonds that are forged will be there for eternity. I'm going to let my wife close out this episode, the Kleenex episode.
Yeah, I'm going to need another Kleenex, I think. The battle is before us, and we hope that you'll join us for another episode of Willing Warriors.